Welcome to the Wealth Matters podcast, where investors come together to better understand how to build passive cash flow and create generational wealth without all the confusing mumbo-jumbo. Here's your host and co-author of Amazon #1 bestseller, Alpesh Pamar.
Welcome to Wealth Matters podcast. I am going to talk to Tony Bradshaw today, who has spent over 16 years in the personal finance space as VP, CIO, and COO as well. And he learned at age of 25 how to handle money, which is crazy because I didn't know what money is. But he created his own millionaire plan. He accomplished his goal of becoming a millionaire by age 40. I wish I would have done that. But I am looking forward to this episode because we are going to dissect cryptos. So welcome, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Alpesh.
Absolutely. So, Tony, as you and I were chatting right before the podcast, I'm big in real estate as well as cryptocurrency or blockchain are my passion, right? I always want to learn more about what blockchain can do for us, right? So this would be a very interesting episode. But before we get started, tell us something funny or strange about yourself.
Funny or strange about myself? Wow, there's a lot. You can cover a lot of stuff there. Funny or strange? Well, I've got 6 kids. That's strange, right?
Yes, that's tough. I got 2.
Yeah. And, I think the funny thing about that is I started learning about money when I was 25, but now I'm faced with trying to teach my kids about money.
Yes.
And it's a very interesting thing because I didn't have anybody to mentor me. And so I'm trying to then figure out how to mentor my children, right? Because we model what we've learned.
Yep.
And so I'm having to figure that out for the first time. So I just started last year during COVID to teach my kids about investing. They know about being frugal and thrifty, because I worked for Dave Ramsey for years.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Spent 15 years with Dave, helped him build his company up to about 125 million. And, but now I'm facing my kids. So now I'm having to go, hey, I need to teach my kids about wealth and abundance, not just about managing debt and staying out of debt, and that's a challenge.
It's a challenge. Tell me about it. So I'm glad that you brought that up because same thing. Last year, I started teaching my kids about money and investing as well. And now every day, both of my daughters ask me every day, what's the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum today?
That's good. That's a good sign. It's progress.
Yeah, at least they understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to pick your brain about it on. So yeah, one of those days. What was your very first investment? Like stocks, real
honestly,
estate?
I won't remember the very first one. I'll remember the first set of them. My guess is it was one of 3 stocks that I started buying. And this was back during the digital boom, right? So I was trading stocks between Intel, Cyrix, and AMD because we were involved in the chip wars in the 1990s. That was the chip wars. Yeah. So I was basically every year I would flip between those stocks based on which one had the fastest chip coming out. And I would look at when the chip was coming out and was going to be adopted by the market. And so I would buy probably 3 to 4, maybe 6 months before the chip came out. And like clockwork, when that chip came out, you would see about a 60 to 90% spike in their stock prices. And then when they were no longer the fastest chip, when the next guy came out, Cyrix got leapfrogged by AMD.
Right.
AMD, same thing would happen to AMD, and it was like clockwork. And I worked that series, and I wasn't working with tens of thousands of dollars. I was a 25-year-old guy learning how to invest for the first time, getting moving in the right direction. So I was only working like, $500 to $1,000 trading around, but I was able to make 60 to 90% returns on most of my money within about 6 to 9
amazing.
months.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't know anything. That's the interesting thing. I didn't know anything, and I was making money. And then I went to work for Mr. Ramsey, and he has a different investing philosophy. He's not quite as aggressive, not quite as
I don't even think he invests. I think he just saves money.
That's not true. He does. He's got a great business, great salesman. Yeah, and he's mostly into from what I know, real estate and mutual funds, which is
real estate. You can't go wrong. Yeah, I love real estate.
Safe, and I think that's good for most people. Play it safe if you don't know what you're doing. But I believe in teaching people to figure things out and to develop better systems. So, but yeah, that's what I did. And I spent about 15 years doing mutual funds. And now I'm after leaving Dave's in 2016, I'm getting into all this risky stuff, which is, a lot of fun, and you learn a little bit, you win a few, you lose a few. It's okay. It all washes out.
Yep. So how did you get started with cryptocurrency then? Working with Dave Ramsey to investing in Bitcoin, that's like extreme.
So I think I got to tell you a little bit more about that, because I was leading the technology team at Dave's company, and we had a young man in there that worked for me that was pushing Bitcoin really, really hard back in 2011. And I still remember the discussions going around the office, how Dave was calling it a scam, or, what are you talking about? Fluctuating currency and all this stuff like that. And back then, Bitcoin, I think, was around 30 cents a coin. And this is 2011 now.
Yes.
So I did the math on that, right? So if you did $10,000 in Bitcoin, like in 2011, you have close to like $150 million now.
Right.
And so, that's the thing is like, and so for me, I was in leadership, and we were expected to adopt, the company policies and things like that. And so I was kind of like, I'm not going to mess with Bitcoin. I'm not doing anything. I'm just playing it safe. Just stay focused on the business.
Right.
And then when I left Dave's, I had been to a conference during that time when I worked there, and I had picked up a Bitcoin magazine. I don't remember the conference I was at, probably a Web 2.0 conference. Mm-hmm. And I picked up a Bitcoin magazine. I may even still have it in one of my boxes.
It may be worth a lot of money.
It might be if I can find it, but and black cover magazine, Bitcoin, on the front of it. And I said, I probably ought to know something about this. And that was probably maybe 2014, 13, 14, something like that. And I'm like, I probably should know something about that. I don't know that I ever opened that magazine, honestly. And then after leaving Dave's, I started getting into crypto in the tail end of 2017, right before that big bull run up to 20 grand when Bitcoin crossed over. And I probably dumped $160,000 into the market, right. A little bit before it happened, I got Bitcoin at about 6,500, got Ethereum. I had about 160 Ethereum, a few Bitcoin. I did pretty well. And, due to certain things, I sold off a lot of that, but yes. But again, that was only like about 5% of my portfolio at that time. So, and I think that's the big thing is, you can play. I believe in playing with new investments and stuff, especially stuff that's hot. When you look at people like Michael Saylor, Robert Kiyosaki,
yes, absolutely.
These guys, even Elon Musk. All you gotta do is listen to these guys. They know what's coming down the pike. Yeah. And get in on it and mess around with it. It's going to have a wild ride because it's new developing technology. The tech world did that, right? So you saw Amazon, Microsoft. Yeah, yes. And it was up, it was down, it was up.
It's a roller coaster ride when it's something new. This is like .com all over again. You are going to have a wild ride, and you have to expect that. On top of that, it's a liquid investment, right? When you can trade something 24/7, it's going to be even more volatile. Yeah. Right. Because it's new, and you can be in front of computer or on your phone now, right? Before you had to be in front of computer or call your broker. Right, in 90s and early 2000s, right? Now you can be on your phone and buy or sell Bitcoin. So it's already volatile. On top of that, just that liquidity portion it's not helping. But it's interesting. So today we are recording, and today it went to 40 grand, which is I didn't think it will go, but you never know. Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go. When it hit $60,000, some of my clients and I were talking. I said, watch it. It's gonna drop between 20 and 40,000 off its 60,000 peak, and it dropped to 28. Yeah, and so I was right. It hit 28, and then it rebounded. And my personal opinion is, I was probably a little surprised it dropped below 40,000 the second time, but I think the floor on it is probably about where it's at right now, 35, 40. Yes. And the reason I believe that compared to, 2018 when it hit 20 and then dropped to, I think it dropped as low as $3,100 over the last 3 years.
Less than 4,000. Yep.
And, the reason you won't see that happen again and it happened then is because you have institutional investors involved now. Before it was always, small potatoes,
just small retail investors.
Yeah. And, and I did the numbers. It's kind of interesting when I went back and I'll have to remember this, but I looked at the number, the projected number crypto investors, like when I got back in 2017, because some people think, hey, is it too late? Have I missed the boat? And the reality is, yeah, you missed the boat, but guess what? There's another boat leaving the station.
Yes.
Like get on the next boat.
It's so volatile. This is the same question all of my friends ask me. Oh, can I invest now? I'm like, this thing is so volatile. You are going to get like 10 chances every year.
Yeah.
And even if you then don't do it, then I can't help you.
Just do it. Yeah. And so, and that's what shifted between, and you know this as well as I do. 2018, it was all stay-at-home people. Now you got like big money coming into it.
Yes.
You know, you got Peter Thiel. I don't remember how much he's got invested in it right now, but I know at one point he had like $100 million they bought, or $1 billion in Bitcoin. Michael Saylor's got like $6 billion in it.
Oh, yeah. Michael Saylor just bought it. And now he's talking about, today I was reading, he's trying to figure out how he can buy more Bitcoin. So now he's going to, work like a DeFi. He's going to loan his Bitcoin, get money, and then buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, and I think there's a fundamental flaw with that, because some guys are like Bitcoin only, and that's just not good investing principles, right? You don't really know what's going to wash out in the long term.
Yes.
Yahoo was the big dog. Google came along, usurped Yahoo. You would have thought Yahoo's it.
Yeah,
no,
AOL.
Google
Remember AOL? Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. You just don't know. So you still got to practice good investing.
Yes.
Principles, diversify, spread it out. Yeah, you might, if Bitcoin is the big one, maybe you miss a little bit of profit, but you still make profit. That's the thing.
Right.
You're going to make money on it. Regardless. I'm in pretty deep on a couple of new ones that have come out. Tailcoin, a buddy of mine got into it at 0.001. And then he talked to me. He told me about 3 months after he bought it. I'm like, what are you doing? You're not giving me your secrets. And I bought in at like maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a nickel or something. I forget, 3 cents a nickel. Now it's down to like 0.6 of a penny, but they're just now ramping up their marketing and they're pretty solid. They've done their homework.
I've heard about, I researched Tailcoin. It seems
but I mean, I've got 2 million Tailcoins. So if it hits $1, I got $2 million, man.
Yes. That's what it is.
Yeah. Just, you buy it when you can. And this stuff, you just got to take a little bit of risk. I think the crazy thing right now, when I talk to people, is there's so much opportunity. I think you would be stupid not to take the chance.
No, I agree. And so you're right. There are so many opportunities. When we got started, we had only Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin to choose from, right? So not only just from coin perspective, you got more than 1,000 coins, but you also got NFTs. You got metaverse lands. You can, if you don't want to touch cryptos, you can invest in MSTR, MicroStrategy, or Marathon Digital, or Riot Blockchain, to Square, Block, PayPal, Robinhood. Like, you have so many options, even if you just want to dip your toes in cryptos, right? So, so one question now I have is, because you spoke about how crypto can fit into your financial plan. So can you tell us how?
Yeah. So I'm mostly in real estate right now, about probably 90% in real estate. I've got like maybe 5% in a VC fund, and then, some silver, gold, and then about 5% or more in crypto right now. I had to liquidate, unfortunately, because of financial needs. I had to liquidate a lot of the crypto I bought in 2018. I held on to my Cardano, which was awesome. I bought Cardano at like 10 cents and held it about 80,000 Cardano until recently. I think I sold some at $1. And turned 4,000 into 40,000. Here's the thing. You can't do that in your lifetime in a mutual fund.
No,
like you can't get those returns in a lifetime. So
you can't get those returns anywhere now. And this is what I call it as asymmetric risk. Taking an asymmetric risk, putting, as you said, 4,000 and turning it into 40 grand or even 400 grand, right?
Yeah.
So that's the asymmetric risk. Do you care? So you have to figure out how, as you said, how your portfolio looks like. For me, my portfolio is about 50 to 60% real estate. Of course, real estate is the biggest part of my portfolio. The stocks are there, which I don't manage. My fund manager does. And then I manage my crypto investment, which is now close to 15%, which I don't recommend for a lot of people. I say that if you are starting between 1 to 5%, but I know that I can sleep well if I lose out of that 15%, if I lose half of that, right? So you have to figure out what your risk tolerance is, right? But if you are okay to lose that $1,000 or $4,000, and not lose sleep over it, then keep it for 5-10 years, put it in the right coins, and you never know.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, when I talk to people now and I try to wake them up to crypto, and it's difficult because you can't get somebody to plug into crypto that's not in it, and you can't do it in a 1 hour conversation.
Nope.
You can't do it in a 3 hour conversation. You have to do it. All you can do is to get them interested and say, hey, you need to keep learning about this. But when I talked to them last year, some people, what I was starting to recommend and say, hey, consider, this is not advice, this is what I'm doing is like, look at your age. Like if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s, what would it look like if you took all of your investment money for 6 months?
Yeah.
And go, for 6 months, I'm only going to invest in crypto.
Right. Just
the risk if you look at it in a lifetime, and not in a dollar value.
Correct.
Your risk is extremely low, because then you're going, hey, it's, if you focus on, it's $5,000, I might lose $5,000. You go, look, it's 6 months.
What's $5,000 worth over 40 years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a great example, like here's a thing too, that may help some of your listeners. And I tell my guys, my future millionaires that listen to the Millionaire Choice podcast, is look at self-directed IRAs.
Yes.
If you could get a $10,000, if you had put a $10,000 Bitcoin investment in 2010, it would be 150 million today, tax-free.
Yes.
The power of what you can do with that. And here's the thing people don't understand, I think, when they go, hey, the ship, right? So the ship, I missed the ship that left in 2011. I missed the $3,100 ship that was like 2018, 2019. Do I want to miss the 2022 ship? Bitcoin's at 38. I personally don't think it's going to drop below 30. I'll be surprised if it goes below 35. That's my own personal opinion. I may be wrong. But when you look at that and you go, the power of that exponential growth, not just in Bitcoin, but in some of these other coins that are coming out, and you stick that inside of your Roth, you can put, if you're married, you got a spouse, $5,500 or 6,000 or whatever the number is today, that you can put into crypto, because you have like, I think it's called I Trust Capital. They do self-directed.
Oh, I have a lot of them as well.
Yeah. So now I still have to do some of this too, myself, because I've got some VC self-directed Roth IRA. I don't have any crypto in my self-directed Roth IRA, but that's something I'm working on, even for my children. I mean, I've got a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old son.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's perfect timing. You got to.
Well, as a parent, you asked me about this. I'm like, all you have to do for a kid is your kid has to collect a W-2, and then you can gift them the same amount of money that they earned, and they can just take that and stick it in crypto.
We are already doing that. Yeah. So what we did, my daughters work for me. They got paid last year, and I'm putting out. They got paid about 8 to 10 grand each, and out of that, 6 grand is going to their Roth IRA.
Yeah,
So
I mean, you just made 2
started
millionaires.
Exactly.
They may be millionaires. How old are they?
9 and 12.
The millionaires by 25.
I hope so.
Multi-millionaires by age 25 right there.
Oh,
that's what I'm trying to do right now with my kids. I'm like,
awesome.
how can I have 6 kids that are all millionaires by age 25?
Yeah. Wow.
Now, I may not let them have the money, but I'm just saying, hey, it's there.
That's great. So what I did also, exactly what you said. So when we started our Bitcoin mining funds, first fund, I converted my self-directed IRA from traditional to Roth. I took the hit on the taxes, and I put 30 grand of my own money in my fund, Roth IRA, and I'm never going to look at it. I don't care what it does. I'm just going to check after I turn 60, and I'll be fine. And after I did that and I spoke about it to all my friends and investors, I would say about 10% of my investors in 4 different funds have used either traditional or Roth IRA to invest in the Bitcoin mining fund.
Yeah, I think that's genius. I think now the thing I do believe, now you didn't ask me this question, but I'll just be honest with you. Like, I'm still a big believer that you have these artificial wealth models. I think the stock market is artificial wealth.
Yes.
It's not, there's not that much money in the system. I just saw a presentation the other day. Something came out about Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg lost $29 billion on paper.
Yeah, 200 billion wiped out, right? That's what they said, the largest in the history.
Where
was it?
It's not real money, though. It's not real money. So real wealth for thousands of years across all generations, across dynasties, across empires has always been real estate, land, gold, silver, and business, owning your own business.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Those three things, no matter what situation you're in, communist regime, capitalism, those three are going to be that's real wealth. And so even when I look at my crypto, let's say it builds up to a $10 million portfolio, I'm going to be willing to parse some of that out to convert it from what I would call this artificial wealth into the real wealth.
Yeah. So you got to put money in the tangible assets, right? And I agree. So I have another question. Do you think cryptos are for everyone? I
do believe that. I believe at different levels though, right? So like somebody who's getting started, I think I might've been a little aggressive jumping in with, 150 grand with how much I actually knew, but I'm a little bit of a risk taker. Yeah. That portfolio I built, my wife still has it laid out on her phone. She just started buying crypto this last year, by the way. She started buying her own, cause before I was the only purchaser of it. Now she buys her own stuff. But that portfolio would have turned it, if I would have kept it, it would have been over $1 million portfolio. So you're talking about 150 grand, which would have been sitting on about 1.5 to 2 million right now. Right. But I had to liquidate it. And then now I'm back in again, but I'm in with, a fraction of what I had 3 years ago. And it's not because I wanted to do that. It's because I, had some financial needs in the family. And that's what finance is all about. You got to manage. Play a show game. You got to manage it. Yeah. So, but I do believe it's for everybody, but at different levels. Right. I don't day trade my crypto. I don't even swing trade my crypto. I've only made, I think, maybe 2 swing trades in my crypto. I've been a hodler for the most part. But part of that's because I spent 15 years with a mutual fund mindset, and I'm still, knocking the rust off, I'm trying to get back to where I was, my investment strategies, in my 20s, where I was doing swing trading of tech stocks. I made money doing that. Right. And, I'm trying to reprogram my brain back. So I think what people have to do is shift their mindset and then listen to shows like yours and keep expanding their mind, right? I call it Get Money Smart. And Getting Money Smart's a lifetime thing, right? You don't just read one book. Don't just read, Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, or Tony Bradshaw's Millionaire Choice, or Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You just keep expanding. And, whether you're doing swing trading, day trading, or whatever, that's what you need to do. And just invest at the level that you have competency. That's the best suggestion I can give.
No, that's a great idea. And also some great advice right there. I also don't, a lot of people ask me, Bitcoin dropped, Bitcoin went up. What are you doing? I'm like, nothing. It does not change my mindset or mentality that it dropped. Do I need to now start selling? It's going up. What do I need to do? I'm like, I buy whenever I want to. I have a setup, right? And especially now that we mine Bitcoin, I don't even buy Bitcoin or Ethereum because I'm producing Bitcoin for myself. So I'm more focused on the altcoins. And I look at Solana to Terra Luna, Avalanche, Phantom, and I just follow those coins and make sure that I'm buying, I'm doing dollar cost averaging, right? DCA. So that's the key. Sometimes I may do short-term trade, but most of the time I don't. And you just mentioned about 150 grand to $1 million. Oh man, I had 5 Bitcoin at $400 each, and about 20 Ethereum I bought at $12 each. With both of them I sold in 2016 when they doubled. Right?
Oh yeah, you're thinking, right? You're thinking, wow, I doubled my money.
I doubled, 6 months.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point that you make, because under a traditional investment strategy, that's great return, and it was. You should feel really good about that. That's good. That's it would take you 7 years to get that in a mutual fund. Correct. But what we don't understand, I think this is something your listeners need to understand, is this is a moment in time that won't exist forever, right?
Correct.
So, and really, you have to roll back the clock about 100 years. When you think about it, like the time we're living in right now, that's the only comparison we have. And let me run through it real quick. In the 1920s, you had the Great Depression, you had the Spanish flu, you had a mass vaccination, initiative by the U.S. government, right?
Yes, they were wearing masks. I saw everything to say.
Yeah. Getting into the conspiracy world a little bit, there are some people that say that the Spanish flu did not kill 10 million people. The Spanish flu only killed 6 million people, and the vaccines killed 9.4 million. True or not true? I don't know, but people are out there. So then you have the IRS, the Federal Reserve, and Social Security. The comparison there is you have an enormous amount of financial restructuring go on within not just the United States, but the world.
All over
because
the world.
You have the same thing right now. The similarities are amazingly the same. And so when you understand that, you're going, oh, new financial system, 1920s. Now you're going 2020s, new financial system, Great Reset, World Economic Forum, cryptocurrency. Like it's all the same. It's the same playbook in both in a 100-year span. And, I love crypto, but I gotta be honest with you. A lot of people are going, hey, it's decentralizing off the central banks. They're very excited about that. I look at it in a different way. And it's this, you have hundreds of world currencies. You've got the Russian ruble, the peso, the Japanese yen, the Chinese yuan, the Lima, I think is Argentina. Maybe it's not Lima. I forget what the heck's down there, but right? You got all these things. What happens with crypto that even though you got lots of different crypto, there's one thing that's synonymous between all of them. And that's this: when every form of money in the world exists as a 1 and a 0, because that's what crypto is. It is the greatest, in my opinion, it is the greatest centralization of money that could ever happen, because it all exists as a 1 and 0, whether it's Ethereum, Bitcoin, or whatever, it all exists as a 1 and 0. And so I'm just a little bit like, I think there's a pin that's going to drop, once we get deeper into the system. It's too early to see it. And AI, I think artificial intelligence. It plays into this in a big way. And we might not see that for years, but anyway, that's a little bit of my soapbox, but I'm still hyped up on crypto. I think you got to embrace the signs of the times, and there's money to be made and wealth to be made. Absolutely. So I have a couple more questions. JPMC, right? And of course, a lot of the big banks and a lot of Ray Dalio to Peter Schiff, they kept saying Bitcoin is a fraud or a scam. What did you keep telling yourself when there were so many naysayers? Or maybe when you were talking to your Millionaire Choice students, what did you keep telling them? I would tell them, just like what I said, you're looking at a financial system being brought in, regardless of what those guys say. I do believe the banks, the central banks, there's no doubt in my mind they play mind games with people. Yes, the stock market's manipulated. I exactly know that. So every time, if you see, whenever JP Morgan Chase said that it's a fraud, Bitcoin goes down, and then they buy it for their high net worth clients. Yeah, they don't want you. They don't want the people that are backing Bitcoin, like you and me, to understand that. I believe it's because they don't want us to understand that they're actually involved in it at a much deeper level than is on the surface. And we'll see where that goes, right? But when you look, you just got to roll the clock back to 1997. Bill Gates was calling the internet a fad. Yep. And 3 years later, you got Google, you got, Amazon's on the right, like everything, and Bill Gates. Microsoft is doing all the business on net. Yeah. It's like, all right. Yeah. It's, play it out. But yeah, I think it's here to stay. It's going to keep going. I don't know if have you ever seen the 1988 Economist magazine with the Phoenix on the front of it? No. Oh, you should look it up. Yeah. I'm way too young, man. Yeah. Well, I'm just kidding. You are young. You're 40 something. Yes. But yeah, on the cover of that Economist magazine is a Phoenix. Okay. And around its neck is a chain with what looks to be, you could say it's a cryptocurrency on its neck. And under the feet of that bird, 1988 now. 1988. All the currencies of the world are on fire. They're all on fire. Wow. So that was during around the Gulf War, right? Maybe that was the reason, huh? It says world, and on there it says digital world currency 2018. Oh, wow. Okay, I got to look it up. Now get it. Look it up. So now you're going, okay, that's 20 years before if that was 1998, I think it was 1988. Yeah, so then it's about 20 years before Bitcoin was created, 2009, right? Wow. And then now here we are. It took about 10 years for it to reach some kind of massive, tipping point, as Malcolm Gladwell says, a tipping point, which we're well over the tipping point now, but we're still in the early adoption phase. When you look at the technology adoption curve, you've got innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then laggards. Right. We're still in like the mid part, both in the US and worldwide, in the mid part of cryptocurrency adoption. in the midpoint of the early adopters phase. What that tells you is I think there's something between 300 and 400 million worldwide. Yeah. Well, eventually you're going to have 6.5, 7 billion people.
Yes, that's what I'm talking. I think at least 10 times from here, 3 to 4 billion. Just think about how many people have smartphone. All of them will start using it. Like what El Salvador did, we just need 10 more countries in next 2 years. And like everyone has Shiva wallet installed on their phone in El Salvador now, right? So that's huge.
I think I just saw that they're about to roll out, is it 1,500 Bitcoin ATMs?
Yes. It's ridiculous. That's fast how they did it. Like in 60 days, everyone got the wallet installed and everyone had a Bitcoin address. That's crazy. Yeah, that's amazing. Hey, so I'm going to throw you a curveball. You got to take out your crystal ball and tell us, what do you think would be the Bitcoin's value at the end of 2022?
At end of 2022, man, that's speculation. I mean, I don't think it's going to go down. I think it's going to keep going up. A lot of it depends on, I think, where the U.S. economy goes. Unfortunately, I think there are some people really messing with the U.S. economy right now intentionally. You got supply chain problems, you got trucking problems, you got goods problems, you got, I think 60% or more of the small businesses that shut down during COVID never opened up again. Yeah. So there's a huge economic upheaval going on. Like I said, very similar to 1920s with the Great Depression. So the question is, where does all that go, right? So, and by the way, for people that don't know, the oil has been traded in U.S. dollars since like 1971, 1972.
Since pretty much the gold standard was
well, except for the last 2 years, because now China's got their own oil exchange.
Yes, they want. And sell. Yes.
So that's even on deck. So what's really going to happen? I mean, I there are people out there smarter than me, right, around this stuff. And I just watch what they say. Sometimes I think they're a little too optimistic, right? Because I rode the hype train, the crypto hype train. You got to be careful to keep your emotions out of it. But it wouldn't surprise me at the end of 22 if it tips over 100 grand. It wouldn't surprise me in a bit if it made it over 100. I think some people have speculated. I've seen charts that said it might hit 100 to 250 grand by March.
Yeah, so those charts I don't believe, because what happened, right? The stock to flow creator, he has said last year it would be 100 grand. But I think we would definitely hit all-time high this year. That's what my thinking is. I may be wrong, but it would definitely go over 65 grand at some point.
Yeah, and it'll crack back up. The reality is long term. Even if central bankers, even if the World Monetary Fund, all these guys really want us to go to crypto, they can't afford for Bitcoin to lose.
Yes.
Because of the mind share. Bitcoin has too much mind share, and most people don't even trust crypto yet. So if you have the number one crypto go belly up anytime in the next 5 years, it all implodes. Like I think it all comes down. Nobody's going to touch it. Not even the pro Bitcoin guys. Right. If it folds, the whole cryptocurrency experiment I think it would be over. So I think that's why it's a safe investment personally, just because of the mind. I think crypto is part of an agenda, a financial agenda worldwide personally. And I think Bitcoin is a key part of that agenda. And so that's why it'll be around versus people who say it's going to go belly up or they don't trust it or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't take, if you can put 10 grand in there and just sit for 3 to 5 years, all of a sudden you're sitting on over $1 million equivalency. Like, you can't afford not to take that chance.
Nope. Yeah, I agree. No, this was awesome. Thank you, Tony. Let's take a quick break. And after the break, we'll go to the same questions I ask every guest.
You're listening to the Wealth Matters Podcast. The Wealth Matters Podcast. For more info about what we do, check us out at wealthmatters.com. It's wealth, WEALTH, matters, MATRS.com.
Welcome back to Wealth Matters Podcast. Tony shared a lot of golden nuggets about cryptos, as well as he gave an idea about how someone should look at cryptos while they're looking at their overall financial plan as well as portfolio. Tony, are you ready for fire round?
Let's do it.
Okay. Would you be changing any business or investment strategy after this pandemic is over?
Changing. I think I would just keep going in harder on crypto. I mean, right now I'm going mostly real estate, crypto, real estate, crypto, real estate, crypto. And you just got to figure out what ratio you want. That's my strategy. And that's what I'm going to stick with.
That's awesome. Favorite real estate or finance or any other related book other than yours and mine?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the big one, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Book. Yeah, if you're retraining your brain, if you're early in the stage of thinking about wealth, you got to put Robert Kiyosaki up there in the top 5, yes, right?
I agree.
Other than that, there's some great guys out there. A young man named Taylor Welch.
Okay, I have not.
In his 30s, he's here in Nashville. I just met him for the first time, but he's got I believe his net worth's over $25 million.
Wow!
So that makes him, if that's correct, that would make him one of the 280,000 richest people in the United States. That's not a small achievement for somebody.
Nope, not at that age for sure.
I wish I had done that. I did it by 40, but then, it's like, I'm not that special. This guy did it by, 28.
28. Wow. Any tool or website you recommend or you cannot live without?
Yeah. Wow. That's a good question. Well, I mean, you got to do research somewhere, right? Yes. I'm an older guy, so I still resort to Coin Market Cap for crypto.
Yes, it's a great actually.
It's a daily visit, right? It's like part of your day. You just got to go there and finance.yahoo.com.
Yeah.
So I probably should be using something else these days.
No, Coin Market Cap is great. Yeah, I love it. Any advice for beginner investors?
Get going and retrain your mind, man. If you want to, you can. I think the limit is what you imagine. And if you can train your mind to think about every new dollar you get, every dollar you earn is a potential investment, man, you can do some amazing things with your portfolio and wealth and not get greedy. Don't get greedy, but think about, where can I stick this dollar? I just got this dollar. Where can I put it to where I can multiply it? If you want to be successful with money, you got to learn how to make, manage, and multiply your money. And the more you can multiply, the more good you can do. I'm a big believer in let's help make some millionaires out there. Millionaires with good hearts are going to make the world a better place.
I agree. And that's why my last question, how do you give back?
You find something that you're passionate about, right? So I help out with orphans, and my wife's writing a book on human trafficking right now. Right now, human trafficking, man, when you learn about it,
oh my gosh,
it is probably one of the worst things in human history that's going on right now. And from organ harvesting in some places.
Yes, all slavery, all sexual trafficking. It's bad.
In my opinion, it is probably the thing that needs to be dealt with and solved. If you say not for this decade, but hopefully it happens sooner than later.
It's got to be solved.
To make it a focus.
And I don't want to talk about it, but I recently watched a Netflix documentary last year, I forgot the name, but said that that's the largest business in the world right now. Human trafficking. It's the largest business, period. Like
organized crime. Organized crime. Let me just add something to this too. How can something that heinous and that criminally driven and that profitability exist?
Right.
The answer is very simple. You've got governments and leaders that are getting paid off or involved in it. And until we deal with that, we're not going to deal with the world's problems effectively. And I think that's a passion about when you say give back, that's why I do the Millionaire Choice Show. That's why I've written my book, is because I believe we got to have more people with passion for making humanity better.
Yes.
And solving these problems, because the people that have the real money at the top right now, they don't really care about those problems. And we've got to be the ones to do it. So we've got to help people build wealth so that they can then put money towards those problems.
And I love it. I love it. I am a big believer in giving back, and I'm a big believer that we make money to make this world a better place, right?
Love it.
You and I think alike. I'm looking forward to the book. When your wife finishes, please let me know. I would definitely buy it and talk about it. Thank you so much. How can my listeners reach out to you?
Alpesh, it's been a wonderful time on your show. I love the work you're doing. You can reach me at themillionairechoice.com. I set aside 1 hour of my day every day to talk to people who want to talk about money. No charge. It's just a call. I love getting calls from 25-year-olds in Florida and up in New England area. They go, hey, I grew up in a broke family and I just want to talk to somebody about money. And so I do that. I'll probably do that for the rest of my life because it's just fun. But the millionairechoice.com, and book a free life and money mentor session with me. There's a link on the website.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tony. Have a great weekend, man.
Thanks, Alpesh.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Matters podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes so others can enjoy the show too. Have a great week and happy investing.